is going on, guys? Hope everyone is doing very well. So, it goes without saying, it has been a long time since I recorded my last video, and genuinely, after a break like that, I always have a moment of, do I still remember how to do this? So guys, all jokes aside, first up, I really want to thank you for leaving such kind comments and your support on my last video. It was quite a difficult few weeks after that, and I did not think I would be gone for so long, but I did need a little bit of a break. Fortunately, though, it has not all been bad news, and in the time since I've been away, I have gone on just an absolute dream trip to New York City with my girlfriend. And guys, for this video, I thought it might be fun to just come on here again and talk about what's been going on lately, as well as things I've been up to, and maybe even get a little bit philosophical and just talk about life. So we'll kind of see how it goes. So first up, I know I mentioned this in another one of my videos, but my girlfriend and I at the moment are long distance, so it's always really enjoyable and just so much fun and just the best when we get to spend time together in the same place. So for a while we had been talking about doing a trip to New York City, you know, the whole Airbnb thing, and we'd rent a little apartment and do things in the city and just, I don't even know where to start with that. Okay, I suppose let's just rewind to the beginning, because my girlfriend is actually working remotely at the moment. So during the week, we had to be, a little bit available for that. And towards the weekends, that's where the time fell where we could really do, I guess, what you would call the touristy things. Like, guys, I saw for the first time in my life, granted I live in New York, I will admit that, but I saw the Statue of Liberty up close for the first time. And it's crazy seeing how big it is. Like, just thinking about, first of all, if you guys don't know about the Statue of Liberty's construction, just how it was made, what it's built out of, the sheets of copper, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself at the moment. So, let's start with the arrival. So, my girlfriend shows up to the airport and, gets there in plenty of time, in no rush, and goes to catch her connecting flight. And not only did she get booted off that flight, we had a change of airports. So I'm expecting to pick her up at one airport, and fortunately, because it was looking like she wouldn't even be able to get on a flight that night, flies to another airport, which I will say was closer to me to begin with. So that was not the issue. The issue was she made it to one airport and her baggage made it to another. So immediately that night, we are driving from airport to airport, just picking up at one, going to the other, securing the bags. So we finally roll in to our Airbnb, and we are so tired, but it was just such a magical night. And it's one of those where you're just in the moment and you're like, this is going to be a great story when we are not still upset about this. So fortunately, everything worked out. Now, we ended up purchasing something called the City Pass. And the City Pass, you get to see a number of attractions, and basically it's kind of sort of a value play at seeing certain things. So if I remember correctly, we picked the Top of the Rock, the Statue of Liberty, a river cruise around the city, the Natural History Museum, and I'm blanking on the Empire State Building. So, first of all, guys, I will say we had 2 weekends that we set aside specifically for doing those 5 things. The first weekend, we attempted to do 3 things in one day. And I will say, if you're planning on doing that, maybe I would say ideally do 1 thing per day and then have a little bit of free time built into your schedule. But 2 things max, because 3 is just way too much. So that day, it started with us going to the Empire State Building, which was such an amazing tour. That one, I will say I've been to before, but just knowing the history of it and how quickly it was built. If you guys don't know, towards that time period, just being able to build skyscrapers out of steel was so revolutionary at the time. But even more so when they were putting it up, like, I believe it was like a floor or 2, like every week, which is insanity for building speed. So we did that. Next, we did the Natural History Museum, which unfortunately got a little bit of a squeeze. We could have spent a lot more time there, but just with how I don't know exactly what you want to call it, but just with how hopeful we were about squeezing things in, we only had a couple hours there before we had to make our way towards Rockefeller Center. And our ticket time, we had specifically booked it to where it was later in the day, so we could be up there for sunset. I would say it was cool to be up there for sunset, but so many other people have that idea, and by the time that you actually get up to the highest observation tower, like, everyone is in position and everyone wants to be in the best view, so it's like shuffling around and you're being squeezed and you're just like in a total group of people packed together. And I can't say that I'd recommend it. Maybe go a little bit earlier. But one of the things that I was up to our entire trip was I thought it would be a good opportunity to use a lot of my 35mm film that I won't say I've been hoarding, but I prefer to say have been saving for a special time, and that certainly was it. So I tried out a couple new films, and at the time of recording, I sent it out to go be developed a few days ago. So maybe I'll do a follow-up video for you guys about some of my favorite images that I took that trip, if anyone would be interested. Or you know what? I think I'm going to take the lead on that. I'm interested. I've been wanting to talk more about my photography, and I don't know, there are certain ways I feel like you have to kind of present, especially with kind of a channel sort of tuned towards ASMR, so just finding ways my interests overlap with sort of the format. But that's going to be something else that I'll figure out for another time. But we did so many cool, fun things. Just being able to get outside, go to the parks, and I'm trying to keep everything in order, but it's a little bit fragmented because there were a number of celebrity sightings that we have had. Alright, enough, maybe that's a little bit of exaggeration, but there were 2. So we were passed by Lin-Manuel Miranda, which was like, so he was walking toward us, and my girlfriend's like, oh my god, it's Lin-Manuel Miranda. And like, I didn't pick up on it. Like, I just saw this person walking towards us, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So I like kind of glanced the side of his face, and unfortunately, He was on a phone call, so we couldn't get any autographs or anything like that. But it's just really cool to see people that are familiar with and are kind of in the public eye just out on the street. So the next sighting was sort of a different scenario because we wanted to go see a play, and one in particular called Peter Pan Goes Wrong, which, I can't say that I'm a huge sort of Broadway and play person, but I think there's something to be said about doing things that you wouldn't normally. And while my girlfriend was here, I wanted us to be able to do the things that we enjoy and the things that one of us enjoys more, and to do them together, because I do think that's important. So I had seen a preview of it, sort of a trailer on YouTube. Guys, I really, really do love YouTube. Like, being on it, watching videos, it's just so cool to see the style and the content that other people are putting out, and it really makes me inspired to want to be able to sort of grow my ability to edit, record, and present videos. Like, I've said it on a number of occasions, just specifically streamers, I'll see their clips online and I'll be like, oh my goodness, their ability to talk on the microphone and present stories just in this extremely well done, interwoven way that's engaging, and it really makes me excited to get better just being here and talking on camera and to the microphone. And I don't know, just something about the way that they do their transitions is just like, as someone who records their own videos, you see how good they are and you're like, oh my goodness, like, I want to come on here and do it. I want to execute it to the best of my ability too. So a little bit of a tangent there, but I think that's okay, especially with these kind of freeform videos. And I will say that sort of led nicely into one of the reasons that I started this channel to begin with. Was I just wanted to come here and talk and present to you guys the things that are going on in my life, and to be able to sort of give everyone a glimpse into the things that I've been working on and doing, because I really enjoy those kinds of videos and getting to know people. I guess not who I know in real life, but who I know through their videos. And it's just something that's always interested me. And I think that there's something really relaxing about just listening to people's voices and the way that they talk. So that's certainly what I'm into. But where was I? See, I'm getting better about the tangents. Our next celebrity sighting was, we were going to get tickets to Peter Pan Goes Wrong, and I have heard that getting tickets at the box office is much less expensive, especially when you're doing it on the day of or a time close to it. So I couldn't find any information online about when the box office was open. So my girlfriend and I, we head over there. I'm like, you know what, let's get a little bit of a walk in, let's get some exercise, and it's a really nice day out. Let's see if they're open, and if they're not, worst case scenario, we'll come back tomorrow. It's like a 5-minute walk. It's not a big deal. So as we round the corner to the theater, we see this big group of people. And when you're in New York, or really any major city, a big group of people is almost a telltale sign of there's someone famous, like really close by. So we make our way towards the back of the people, and as everyone's sort of filtering out, we go a little bit further into the crowd, and we see like Neil Patrick Harris like 25 feet in front of us, and it was very surreal because I've never really seen like a celebrity of like that caliber up close before. And I think you guys know I'm a big fan of How I Met Your Mother, and I will say I'm not going to defend the last 2 seasons because the one before the last one was not great, but the last season was just a train wreck and like completely fell off a cliff. So if they could have cut the last 2 seasons out, I think the show would have stood maybe a little bit stronger over the course of time. I think especially the ending has kind of stuck in with people as one of, I'd say, the weaker endings of a show in recent history. But that's not really what we're here to talk about. So it had turned out that the play that we were going to see had ended, and all of the people in the play had made their way out, and I didn't realize how much there are of like, or I could have said that better, how many people line up at the back door to get their playbills autographed. So it was really cool to just see that, and the play was the next night. So the next night we went to go see it, and the tickets that we got were a lot less than what we would have paid online, and they were still pretty decent seats, so I was excited about that. And the play, guys, was so good. Was like, this is coming from someone who doesn't usually go to see plays and hasn't always enjoyed them, but the way that the stage design was executed, the way that the production was run, just the humor of the show was fantastic. And if you guys are near New York, I highly, highly recommend you going to see it. Here's how good it was. I would have paid the online price to go see it. But when we had gone, the dates that we had gone, I should say, was the run with Neil Patrick Harris in it. And I believe the time for that has expired. But even so, I'd still highly recommend it. It was just one of the better shows I've seen, like, in recent memory. So, okay. Guys, this video is sponsored by, no, just kidding. Oh my goodness, keep it together. So we just had such an amazing trip in New York, and it was just such a great time together, and just to see some of the attractions that we did was just the icing on the cake. And I hope to go, let me try that again, and I hope to show you guys some of the photos that I'll receive once the lab that I sent them out to is finished. So I'm sure I'm leaving out so many details, but the thing that I'd like to move on to next is kind of the things that I've been up to lately, and even so, rewinding quite a bit of time in the past to the end of 2022. And there's something that I've been wanting to talk about on this channel for a very, very long time, and something, or sometimes I think I get caught up too much in overthinking how I'm going to present certain things in or on my videos. Maybe not necessarily how I want to present them, but I kind of build these artificial roadblocks in my mind where I think that I have to be smooth and sort of have a focus on my videos, and in talking about it have to always be engaging and that pulls too much of my focus in to a point where I, go to record that video and can't really get into the zone that I need to, where I'm just kind of more loose and relaxed and can talk about the things that are on my mind. So I've been trying to be better about that. And in that vein, one of the major shifts in my life over the past, maybe, how long has it been? It's been about 5 or 6 months now. But at the end of 2022, I actually got laid off at the architecture firm that I used to work for. And it wasn't necessarily something that I did not foresee coming, or let me turn that around. I did kind of foresee it coming, just for the simple fact that I tend to work at small firms, kind of by choice, just because I feel like it's such a great opportunity to work on all facets of architecture and the process from all the way from schematic design and just laying out different approaches, all the way up to construction documents and to when you're actually building the project. So towards the end of the year, we were starting to get very slow, and this has happened to me now at a couple of different firms. But the thing about when you work for such a small firm, typically when you get slow like this, it means that someone unfortunately has to be laid off to save money. It is a business decision. It's not anything personal, and it's something to be aware of, especially as that scenario starts to come into fruition. And as work was slowing down, I just knew that if it came time to that situation was unfolding, I would be the first one out, just because I was the one with the least experience. I mean, granted, I've been doing architecture now for almost a decade now. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it's been that long. Guys, can you believe I'm going to be 32 in a few months? I'm shocked. That's something that I'm shocked about. But everyone else that I worked with had like 25 to 30 years of experience. I mean, granted, I sort of headed up our 3D modeling and rendering, whatever you want to call that. It wasn't really a department if it's only one person. The projects that we did 3D and modeling on sort of fell to me just because I know how to do it, and I was learning a lot about it and how to be better. So that experience was very valuable. But in that time, probably since everything's been unfolding over the past 2 years, I've sort of had a voice in my head that's gotten louder and louder about my desire to kind of move away from architecture, especially since photography and making videos has become more and more of a part of my life. And I think I've become better at recognizing when I'm holding myself back, and whether I have done that in the past to sort of maybe have this false perception of doing the safe thing or whatever it is. It's just I want to not hold myself back anymore about pursuing the things that I want. So that's been a big shift for me, and I think it's something that comes with time and age, and recognizing that this is, I don't mean to present this in kind of a nihilistic way, but we only have so much time, and let's maybe use that time to go after the things that we want. So it comes with maybe a little bit of that thinking in mind, but also with I've sort of become, I don't want to say jaded, but as I move further and further away from my time in school, while you're in school, you get to do, while they're theoretical, the best projects. Like, you get to do really cool work, and the budget's unlimited because obviously the buildings and the projects are fictional, and you sort of get to do whatever you want. And while there are justifications for like why you make certain design choices, it really falls to, it's just like, you know what, it looks cool and I'm gonna come up with a way to justify that. And when you're out there doing it in the real world, you have clients, you have a budget, and it's just, it falls further and further away from what is ideal, and you become more and more confronted with clients aren't going to be happy if you do things just because it looks cool. It's like you have to listen to them, you have to take in what they want as priority. And I don't know, I just have become less and less enthused by the process. Now, I don't want to, how do I say this exactly what I'm going for? I still really do love the process. I still really do love design. I have a huge soft spot for aesthetic. I think you guys know that. And I think I can translate those things into other ventures like photography or videography. Videography, excuse me. You know, you would think someone who wants to pursue this more would be better at actually saying the word. But here we are. So I am excited to be moving further away from that, and it's been difficult. It has its challenges. I almost got away with that one. Has had its challenges, but it's something that I'm trying to see through and continue to just keep moving one day at a time towards these long-term goals. And to that end, I am actually working part-time now for a photo company, and it is interesting being on that side of the equation because I've started working for a company that specializes in children's like sports portraits. So like I'm sure you guys, if you played like youth sports, you remember the picture day where you were a kid and like your team is lined up and you go take the photo and you're like a kid and you don't really know what to do and someone's trying to pose you and do the best you can. And it's so interesting now being like on the side where I'm actually taking the photos, because I remember like being a kid, and while I was growing up I did play a lot of sports. I know I don't look like it, and people are always surprised to see how athletic I am, because I'm also a huge nerd and I think people don't really expect it from us. But I played baseball for a long time, and I really do enjoy the game and the thinking behind it and the strategy and all that sort of thing. And, you know, sports for me growing up were always really relaxing because as someone who just has a tendency to overthink things, like baseball gave me that focus. And where it was, I was so in tune with the game. It was like, because you have to be thinking of so many different things, like situations and scenarios, like what happens if the ball's hit to a certain part of the field? What am I going to do? How many outs are there? How's that going to influence my decisions? It's just all very, like, consuming when you get to focus on it and not worry about all the extraneous things in your head. So that's why baseball was sort of an escape for me, until like you kind of later on remember, or I shouldn't say remember, realize why you enjoy the game, when you become more aware, I should say, of that sort of relief from the overthinking. So, I don't think we talk about this enough in, maybe, if I can be so bold as to say, in society, of the fear and the unknowns that come with, really stopping the momentum of the career that you've chosen and that you thought you were going to do for the long run, and have it come to a screeching halt while you pursue something else and start over again. And I do have my days where I am a little bit nervous of, is this going to work out? Is this going to be good for me in the long term? And while having one eye on that end of the equation, having another eye on just being consistent and pursuing these things, because already I can't say that I want to be shooting children's sports portraits for, the long haul. But I will say I'm learning a lot about the process, about running a business, about how to work with children. And I think if I master working with kids specifically and getting them in the poses and the direction the way that I want to efficiently, I think that's going to bode well for just working with anybody else over the age of I don't know, 18, because they can understand you, understand what you're saying. And it hasn't been without its challenges, but it's been something that I do want to pursue further. So I think it's okay to talk about fear, to talk about these unknowns, because when we are in sort of that phase of picking up something new before we've achieved our long-term goals, I think when you look back on that, it just makes it sweeter in the end. So I'm trying to remember that and stay focused on it. But I'm just very happy about the way that it's turning out. And as someone who didn't always advocate for myself and the things that I wanted, I'm really, really proud to say that I have made a lot of progress in that area. And while it hasn't always been easy, I just really want to, as we sort of get to the end of this video, I just really want to encourage everyone else who has been thinking about it, or has maybe had the seeds planted in the back of your mind about maybe pursuing something else and, doubting yourself, if you have the ability to, and you have the drive to see these things to the end. I just really would like to encourage you to get that sort of started in that direction, because the process is rewarding in itself. But the thing about it is, if you don't do it in the first place, it's going to be unknown. And if you think a lot like I do, you have a lot of trouble with perfection and seeing that other people are at a certain level and you're starting, way below that. And to that, I would say it's really, really important to stay focused on the fact that at some point everyone was a beginner. And I know that certain people have more talent in things than others. But I think the people who are really passionate about pursuing something, while they do have their doubts and they have the stumbling blocks that come along with pursuing anything new, they're the ones who really persevere and really try hard and do something for the sake of enjoyment rather than having to be the best at something. And I think when you go in with that mindset, it's something that you'll be surprised with how far you can go. And I've often thought that the people who are the most talented at something, they reach a point where their talent vastly outweighs their drive to do it. And the people who maybe aren't the most talented, but their drive is at that top level, it's those people who are going to be the most successful in the long run. So guys, I'd like to just sort of offer any insights, if I can, especially to people who may be thinking about making a career change. And I know the vast majority of this audience, just from the analytics that I've seen, skews quite a bit younger than I am. So maybe if I have any it seems weird to be saying this as someone who's still young and vibrant, but if I can pass along any insights of age to you, it would be that. So guys, I think that is where I'm going to end this video. It is a beautiful day outside, and I want to do some biking. But guys, I just want to thank everyone again for your support, and hopefully we will get back to some more videos very soon, because I'm excited to be recording again. So guys, I will see you again a little bit later. Goodbye.